And then I watched Bernie Mac and Isaac Hayes in church. If that ain't saying something, I'm like, wow, this is what I've been missing all this time? Y'all can do this? I met Bernie in Detroit at the music hall, and at that time we had 12 o'clock show, 2 o'clock show, 4 o'clock show. First time I ever met Bernie, all he talked about was his family and this city. He loved this city. Initially, I was going to do it, and it kept my schedule. It just didn't work out, but I'm glad I didn't. I thought it got to be too messy, and I said it out loud. I think for a while, Club Shay Shay was like Wendy Williams with a weight set. Like, hey, this dude, I mean, it just, and essentially, you know, Bernie, felt like he didn't want to do it anymore. He was on his own path, and Steve. So, nothing like that ever happens or doesn't happen for a reason. So I was disappointed, but I understood that, you know, those kind of things happen.
But you know what's funny to me? I went to a funeral the other day. Now, black funerals, I don't care about, and I'm gonna tell you why. I don't care about funerals, period. Because I personally believe that you show your love to a person while they're here. I never watch what somebody else does. It does not matter. Bernie Mac got to do a thing.
What was your ultimate goal? What did you want to do?
To be the best.
To be the best.
Within myself.
Uh-huh.
I'm not in competition with anybody.
So you didn't care what form that took?
No, I don't care what people say.
Not compared to a real job. I will not disrespect the people here that work hard.
This isn't a real job.
This ain't no real job.
I think the luxury comes from us doing what we really enjoy doing, so we don't feel the pain. It's a different type of work.
At 62, D.L. Hughley finally decided he'd had enough of the silence. After 16 long years, he's now exposing the truth that Hollywood tried to bury, the truth about Bernie Mac's final years, and how the industry quietly turned its back on him. For years, this story was wrapped in grief and fake tributes. But behind all that sympathy was a darker truth. Bernie Mac didn't just pass away from illness, he passed away from feeling isolated, betrayed, and punished for believing he was worth more than Hollywood allowed. Stay tuned, because what DL just revealed might change how you see Hollywood forever.
If you want help, that's not help, that's taken care of. Then when they sit there and they play psychological blackmail with you, they got the best story, but I'm good at it.
But it's funny because you can say anything, you can say anything about black or Latin, black or brown people. You can say anything about them and people will believe you. Anything. Like the same time they're saying Latins eat dogs, Venezuelans took over Aurora. You know, there is a mentality in this nation where you can say anything about them.
It ain't never a good time to fire a black man. There's always gonna be some controversy. In the morning, he got a problem with it. If you come walking in, hey, Bernie, before you punch in, can I talk to you? Yeah, what's the problem? We won't need you anymore.
Okay, so Bernie Mac, people don't know this. Bernie Mac's first movie, Wayans, we put on a lot of people. We put on a lot of people because if you funny, we want to give you opportunity. You know, the first thing Bernie Mac did, Mo Money, he played a bouncer in Mo Money. Second thing he did, we put him in a movie, Don't Be a Menace. He played Officer Self-Hatred. Wow. Then we put him on Wayans Brothers. Then me and Bernie did Above the Rim together. Like, I love Bernie Mac. Me and Bernie were very tight. You know, I love that man, but I always knew, once again, I always knew he was gonna be funny.
See, Bernie Mac broke one of the biggest unspoken rules in the business. He believed in himself. When the original Kings of Comedy tour launched back in 1997, Bernie was supposed to play the middleman, grateful for his spot, while Steve Harvey held the top position as the big TV and radio star. Everything was neatly arranged, everyone had their role, and no one was supposed to challenge that setup. But Bernie? He didn't play by those rules. Night after night, he blew the roof off every show. His comedy wasn't just funny, it was raw, honest, and straight from the gut. He didn't perform for laughs, he spoke truth, and audiences felt it. Before long, he wasn't just another name on the lineup. People came for the Kings of Comedy, but they left talking about Bernie Mac, about his real-life stories, his family, his struggles, and how he made everyone else see themselves in his jokes. That's when things started to change. Because in comedy, closing the show isn't just about ego, it's about power, money, and status. The one who closes is the star, the headliner, the face everyone pays to see. So when Bernie started asking to close the show, he wasn't just asking for the spotlight, he was threatening the whole system that wanted him to know his place. DL saw it all happen. He respected Bernie, but he also knew exactly what he was up against. The entertainment world had one unspoken rule: black success was welcome, but only if it didn't shake up white control. Bernie's rise didn't fit that rule. He was too good, too real, and too unstoppable, and that scared the people in charge.
But you know what's funny to me? I went to a funeral the other day. Now, black funerals, I don't care about, and I'm gonna tell you why. I don't care about funerals, period. Because I personally believe that you show your love to a person while they're here. No, I really do. I'm not bullshit. But I think it's a bunch of bullshit for me to come here and look over a person. I don't know you like that. First of all, you don't know I'm there. So all the things I do for you while you're alive is more important to me than coming, sitting up there, staring at somebody that I don't even know like that. You understand what I'm saying? So I think black people is a bunch of bullshit. White people, man, I respect y'all, because you all on bullshit. Motherfucker died night, y'all bury his ass the next day. He dead. He costing me money. Costing me money. I can't out this son, bitch. He ain't doing no good to me.
The irony, the same fire that made Bernie a legend is the same that made him a target. His honesty, his refusal to play nice, his demand to be treated like an equal. Those traits that fans loved became the very reason the industry turned against him. Behind the scenes, things were moving, and Bernie had no idea. Producers were calling, movie deals were being discussed, and suddenly everyone wanted a piece of him. But instead of celebrating his success, the industry started to panic. The original Kings of Comedy had accidentally created something they couldn't control: a black comedian who knew his worth and wasn't afraid to demand it. And that made people nervous. Executives who built their careers protecting the system didn't want it shaken. Even some of the other comedians depended on that same structure. They couldn't afford for Bernie to rise too far or too fast.
I never watch what somebody else does. It does not matter. Bernie Mac got to do a thing.
What was your ultimate goal? What did you want to do?
To be the best
To be the best.
within myself. I'm not in competition with anybody.
So you didn't care what form that took?
No, I don't care what people say. When I went home one day, I told my daughter, I said, baby girl, Boots was about 8? When I told her, I said, I might say some things, you might hear Dad say some things.
Maybe about 10.
But that's not Dad. They're jokes. And it does not matter as long as you know the truth. And when she got big, she started fighting for me. He ain't like that. You know, she used to get mad. You know, they said Bernie's rough, he's raunchy. He just telling Joe he playing.
But Bernie had already tasted something bigger than fame. That real, unfiltered connection between him and the audience. Once you experience that, there's no going back to being quiet or grateful. He knew what he deserved. That's when Hollywood pulled out its oldest trick: systematic destruction. If they couldn't control him, they'd control the story. If they couldn't humble him, they'd humiliate him. First step, create chaos. Suddenly, tabloids and trade papers were publishing stories about ego clashes and diva behavior inside the Kings of Comedy. Journalists who had never been backstage were suddenly insiders, claiming Bernie was difficult to work with. The same media that once praised him for being real now called him arrogant. His confidence was rewritten as attitude. His fight for fair pay became proof that he had changed.
Watch how Bernie Mac confronted Oprah for mocking comedians and saying his job as a comedian isn't a real job.
Have such stressful jobs. How do you unwind to relax at some time?
I think their job is stressful. I think being the Wonder Bread representative might be stressful.
Not compared to a real job. I will not disrespect the people here that work hard.
This isn't a real job.
This ain't no real job. I think the luxury comes from us doing what we really enjoy doing, so we don't feel the pain. It's a different type of work, but yeah, it's stressful when you got 149 people depending on you, dealing with 10 writers, and you're sitting up there trying to tell your story, going on stage and 18,000 people looking at you, and you ain't funny. Man, what you talking about?
It was a masterclass in character assassination, dressed up as entertainment journalism. DL saw what was happening, and it was brutal. Every win Bernie had was twisted into another reason to tear him down. Every time he stood up for himself, they said he was impossible. And that's when the whispers got uglier. Rumors started flying that Steve Harvey had tried to undercut Bernie for a role in Ocean's 11. Now, whether that's true or not didn't even matter, because the damage was done. The industry loves a narrative, and this one painted Bernie as roles that seemed perfect for him would mysteriously disappear. Guest spots on TV would get canceled last minute. Studios started picking other comedians, ones who were easier to control. Each of these things on their own could have looked like bad luck, but together it was a pattern, a calculated effort to push Bernie Mac out of the spotlight he'd earned. The mind games didn't stop either. The psychological warfare against Bernie was constant and cruel. Every day, new rumors popped up, whispers, accusations, lies, and he never knew where they were coming from. He was forced to defend his name nonstop while still trying to keep his career alive. And the worst part? The more he tried to fight back, the guiltier he looked. That's when the isolation started. Friends who once hyped him up suddenly went quiet. Other comedians didn't want to be seen with him, not because they stopped caring, but because Hollywood had already labeled him difficult. Even the executives who liked Bernie didn't want to risk working with someone seen as trouble. He wasn't just being shut out professionally, he was being slowly cornered mentally.
I had a guy tell me, Charles, he said, wow, man, they're about to put me out of my house. I'm 8 months behind. I said, you should have called me when you was a day behind.
What Bernie says next, gonna have you nodding and laughing at the same time.
Call me the day that you owe. If you want help, that's not help, that's taken care of. Then when they sit there and they play psychological blackmail with you, they got the best story. But I'm good at it. I see it coming when they come to the house and all of a sudden they knock on the door. Hey man, what's happening? What's wrong with you? Yeah, it's rough out here. I don't know how I'm gonna go home and tell your sister that we gotta move. Y'all gotta move? Yeah, we can't stay here, can we? Rule number 1, if somebody call you after 9 o'clock, don't let them in. I need to talk to you, talk to them in the morning, 8 o'clock, come to the office. But they ain't nothing but a murder there. They ain't nothing but a murder. But if you say no, you better say no, just like this. Well, I ain't got it.
After a while, Bernie started to question himself. He began wondering if maybe he was asking for too much, or if maybe he wasn't as easy to work with as people said. That's how deep the gaslighting went. DL saw all of it, and to him, it was textbook Hollywood control. The industry loved a successful black entertainer, but only if they stayed inside the box. The moment you demanded the same respect or freedom white comedians got, the machine would crush you.
Initially, I was going to do it, and it kept my schedule. It just didn't work out, but I'm glad I didn't. I thought it got to be too messy, and I said it out loud. I think for a while, Club Shay Shay was like Wendy Williams with a weight set. Like, hey, this dude. I mean, it was messy. The reason that those people went on Club Shay Shay in its first iteration before it became successful, it's because we saw what he did, and the reason I was going to go on it is because we saw what Skip did to him. I said any number of things about the way Skip sunned him.
Is that when he said, put your glasses back on or something like that?
That was so horrible to me that I think a lot of people were determined to help this black man be successful because of what had happened to him. And to kind of curate all that bull and have that place that they worked so hard for you to have so you would have your own space be just an amalgamation and curate all the bull that is happening in our community seemed insulting to me.
Right. And we're talking about, man, some of the same people that rallied around him to make sure he was good.
Bernie's only crime was believing he deserved to be treated equally. But in an industry built on control, that belief was seen as rebellion, and rebellion gets punished. By 2005, Bernie was fighting on two fronts, one against his illness and another against an industry determined to break him. His diagnosis with sarcoidosis should have been met with support and compassion. Instead, it became another tool to destroy him. Behind the scenes, Hollywood used his health as an excuse. Suddenly, people were saying Bernie was too sick to work with, too unreliable to book, too much of a risk to invest in. It was a perfect cover to shut him out completely. DL said it felt like watching a slow-motion attack, one that looked polite on the surface, but was brutal underneath. When talks began for a Kings of Comedy reunion tour, it looked like the perfect comeback. Big stage, big names, big money. Everyone was excited. On paper, it should have been Bernie's victory lap. But there was a problem. Bernie Mac wasn't the same yes man anymore. After years of proving himself, he wanted what he deserved. Equal pay, equal control, and real respect. And that was enough to end the whole deal. The moment he stopped playing the grateful role, the whole project fell apart.
Was that the most successful comedy tour ever at that point?
Yes, it was at that point.
Okay. Now, you talked about how there was almost another tour.
Right.
But there was essentially a beef between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey?
Yes.
You talk about that?
Well, I think we were, I remember I was at the golf course and we were getting ready to put it together. and everybody was all excited, and so it was. You remember how the Lakers had Chris Paul for a second, and then the next day they didn't? That's how it was. It's like we was together, we were all excited, and the next day it didn't happen.
DL kept things polite in public, but the truth was way darker. Bernie didn't just walk away from the reunion, he was pushed out. Behind closed doors, they had already decided to leave him out of the plans. The moment Bernie refused to settle for second place in a group where he was now the main attraction, the whole project magically fell apart. It was the same story that haunted his entire career. Every time Bernie stood his ground, opportunities vanished. What should have been fair negotiation suddenly became Bernie's ego. The industry had mastered that trick, making confident black men look ungrateful just for asking what they'd earned.
I don't want to hear no big ups and no shout outs. You got three thanks. Thank the fans, thank the record company, thank the Lord, and then sit your ass down. See, somebody got to say it. And if you want to say hello to somebody, you do it on your own doggone time. Now this next one here is heavy. This is for the rappers. This is going in the award manual. Somebody should have been made this doggone rule here. Well, the Mac Man's going to do it. You rappers, don't come up here on stage with the whole doggone neighborhood. Now I'm telling you right now, it don't take 59 people to come up here for one doggone trophy. If they want to see it, you show it to them in the car. And if you got a band, you get a designated speaker. You know,
And to make things worse, they started using his health against him. Producers said he was unreliable. Studios said he was too risky. Insurance companies made it too expensive to cast him. It was a silent blacklist, dressed up as concern, but that constant rejection broke him down. Physically, mentally, emotionally, it all piled up. Fighting an illness was hard enough, but fighting an entire industry at the same time? That was impossible. DL said watching it happen was like watching someone drown in slow motion. The very system Bernie helped elevate was now crushing him. Even his friendships, those tight bonds from the kings of comedy, started to fade under the pressure. The brotherhood that once felt real was quietly falling apart. Then came the cruelest twist. Rumors of Bernie's demise started spreading before he actually passed away. People in the industry were already whispering like he was gone, as if they'd been waiting for it.
I hear stuff about us, and I hear stuff about the dissension. I really don't know what they're talking about, because the thing about Bernie was a man's man. So when somebody say they treated Bernie like shit, that was impossible. This dude right here was Chicago South Side to his core and blood. You mistreat this dude right here, you know there's a problem you're gonna have instantly. That was an impossibility. This was a man's man. Is that pretty accurate?
I didn't see one thing. Now, me and Bernie hung out together more. Like, Sid is one of my dearest friends now. But because Sid and Steve were on the show at the time, they would, they obviously, would be in closer proximity a lot of the time.
When Bernie Mac finally passed away on August the 9th, 2008, the headline said it was pneumonia and complications from sarcoidosis. But those who really knew him said the truth out loud. Hollywood ended him long before the illness did. His immune system gave out, both the one in his body and the one that was supposed to protect his career. And then just like that, the spin machine turned on. The same people who ignored him, sabotaged him, and shut doors in his face were suddenly on TV calling him a legend and a once-in-a-generation talent. The same executives who used his sickness as a weapon were now posting heartfelt tributes and talking about how much they missed him. It was all PR, a glossy rewrite of history to make the industry look caring and innocent. DL saw it for what it was. Pure hypocrisy. Hollywood didn't just bury Bernie Mac, they buried the truth with him. After Bernie's demise, the industry cleaned up the story fast. The original Kings of Comedy stopped being about power struggles and betrayal. It turned into a glossy fairy tale about four best friends who loved each other to the end. All the tension, jealousy, and politics that defined Bernie's final years gone.
On March 19th, 2007, Bernie Mac, one of the original so-called kings of comedy on the stand-up circuit, told David Letterman that he was planning to retire after finishing production on his latest film, telling the legendary late-night host, "I'm going to put it in theaters, and it's going to be 30 years for me, and I'm going to call it." It was a shocking announcement because the 49-year-old was really at the top of his game, looking fit, healthy, and happier than ever. Bernie Mac's health was always a delicate issue, casting an ever-present and foreboding shadow over his life and career. He suffered from a disease known as sarcoidosis, which is essentially an autoimmune disease in which inflammatory cells form lumps of tissue typically in the lungs, skin, and lymph nodes that can impede breathing and other bodily functions. For Mac, the disease would flare up at times, turning common colds into serious illnesses that would land him in the hospital. Mac continued working, releasing 3 movies in 2005, filming 3 more scheduled to come out in 2007, and booking a handful of others to come out after.
DL was stuck. If he spoke up, people would say he was disrespecting Bernie, but if he stayed quiet, the lies would win. And everyone, from TV producers to fans, wanted the feel-good version, not the uncomfortable truth about racism and power. Even Bernie's family, still grieving, wanted peace. DL understood that, but deep down he knew silence wasn't just protecting people's feelings, it was protecting the system. Because if the truth ever got out, it wouldn't just expose what happened to Bernie, it would expose how Hollywood keeps powerful black voices in check. So the cover-up began. Real footage showing what happened, locked away, contracts proving discrimination, all buried under confidential deals. Interviews that hinted at the truth, edited or never released.
Ain't 5 black persons. 5 black persons. It's gonna be some shit, ain't it? It ain't never a good time to fire a black man. There's always gonna be some controversy. If you fire him in the morning, he got a problem with it. If you come walking in, hey, Bernie, before you punch in, can I talk to you? Yeah, what's the problem? We won't need you anymore. You let me come all the way down here for this bullshit, to tell me this bullshit? If you fire him at the end of the day, that's a goddamn problem. Bernie, can you come off it? Yeah, what's the problem? We don't need you no more. You let me work all mother day, you gonna tell me?
The industry didn't just erase Bernie's story, they rewrote it. In their version, he was universally loved, respected, and at peace. And that fake story kept the same machine running. The saddest part? The one thing Bernie fought for all his life, respect, was taken from him even in demise. Years later, when Cat Williams and others started speaking out about the same corruption, DL realized how deep it really went. But by then, the lie had been told so many times, the truth almost sounded unbelievable.
And I know the truth. You think I'm gonna let you on Bernie? The reason you was supposed to go last is because it was your tour. It was Steve's tour. These are the guys opening for him. Tell the truth. You thought he was black and ugly, and you were good looking, and he couldn't make it because you did. Now that he gone, you gonna act like, honestly?
Yeah. Okay, so technically this story doesn't have anything to do with me.
Okay.
Because I've never been the funniest person on the planet at any point. So now it doesn't matter if people have a different opinion, and it doesn't matter if my fans think differently. They're biased. They should think differently. Mm-hmm. But now Dave Chappelle has always been funnier than me. And Chris Rock has always been funnier than me. I've always been aware of who was funnier than me. I've just also been aware of who wasn't. So now I know the real Bernie Mac stories, and I know that the people that made money off Bernie Mac didn't like him.
Like, what was Bernie Mac like? Was he a super guy? Because I never seen anybody like him.
That's a great place to start. No, you never saw anybody like him just because there wasn't anybody like him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, the things people pretend to do and talk themselves up to be, and he was that already.
His real awakening came during the messy headline-grabbing feud with Monique in 2022, a moment that exposed how quickly loyalty in Hollywood can flip into war. It started with something simple. Both were booked to perform at Detroit's Fox Theater, 2 comedy legends, one stage. Easy, right? But then Monique found out that DL was listed as the closer, the headliner spot, and she snapped.
I'm unapologetic and I'm unwavering about it. Because when I see this woman, Oprah Winfrey, how do you as a black woman watch another black woman be thrown under the bus based off of a lie? What I won't do is be quiet. I won't go away. I won't back down. And
so when she was offered an unfair deal by Netflix, she decided to push back.
The offers just didn't make sense. If we continue to accept these low offers, however do we make it different and make a change? I've got to speak up and speak out. And I've got to say it's blatantly unfair.
What was unfair about it?
She was offered $500,000 to do a Netflix special, a comedy special. The problem is that other comedians, like the Amy Schumers of the world, is that like she's getting offered like $10, $11 million.
Like $500,000 is still a lot of money, but then when you find out it's $500,000 versus $11 million.
What should have been a routine contract issue turned into an all-out public meltdown. Monique didn't just go after his professionalism, she went personal, bringing up painful things from his past, even questioning how he handled his daughter's attack. It was ugly, but instead of staying quiet or trying to smooth things over, DL came prepared. He released receipts, contracts, emails, schedules, everything to prove he wasn't the villain.
Let's go. Would you rather your husband sleep with Lee Daniels with a or Corinne Steffens without one?
Really, Monique?
Still, the damage was done. The whispers had already started. And just like with Bernie, the machine went to work. Suddenly, DL was difficult. His reputation took a hit. The same pattern all over again. Personal attacks, public smears, isolation.
Okay.
But did you hear what the man said? I
did.
violated you.
Yeah.
I mistreated.
But this time there was one big difference. DL had tools Bernie never had. Social media had changed everything. Now performers could speak for themselves, directly to their audience, without the industry twisting their words first. The same platforms that spread lies also gave them the power to fight back. Even so, the cost was heavy. People he'd known for years started keeping their distance. Industry events he once dominated turned awkward. The same cold silence that swallowed Bernie was creeping towards him now. But DL wasn't about to let history repeat itself. He had his radio show, his own platform, his own mic, and his own voice. He'd seen what silence did to Bernie Mac, and he wasn't going to go down the same way. In the end, the Monique War became more than a celebrity feud. It was proof that Hollywood still plays the same game. Two black comedians fought for respect, and instead of resolution, both got labeled as too risky. Because in this industry, standing up for yourself doesn't make you powerful, it makes you a problem.
It's almost like Wendy Williams didn't go anywhere, she just got a waist set. And so Monique was on. Every time I see Monique these days, she's on doing some greasy ass video with her and her daddy complaining about something or working out. I don't know nobody that work out that much and gain weight unless every crunch you do has got Captain in front of it. But apparently she goes on Club Shay Shay and tells the story about how she came on my radio show and I wasn't there at the time. And my co-host Jasmine Sanders played a game that we played all the time with everybody called Would You Rather. She apparently was so offended by that she says she got off, she called me. Monique did, and she said I was very dismissive, like, Monique's a liar. When Monique did call me, I heard her complaints, I listened to her, and I pulled the segment. So if I had been as dismissive as she alleges I was, that segment would have aired. It did.
By 2024, DL wasn't just a comedian. He'd become a voice, a critic, and eventually a target. It all came to a head when he publicly apologized to Kamala Harris, admitting he'd judged her without knowing the full story. What was meant as honesty turned into chaos. Within hours, social media exploded. People claimed he'd been paid off or bought out. The backlash was brutal.
I think the gayest place on the face of the earth is the black church. And it's one of the most repressive. Because I think all the dudes there is kids that used to gotta go with their kids, dudes that used to gotta go with their wives, and men that are trying to pray the love of dick out of their heart. They're like, I'm already on my knees, so like I just think it's the gayest place on the face of the earth. And it's ridiculous to act and pretend like we don't know that these things exist.
Let me tell you what's ridiculous. D.L. Hughley. Do you know what the DL stands for? Down low. Down low Hughley. I've been saying it for years. Everybody knows it. He thinks everybody knows the truth about the church. The truth is, we ain't know everything about DL. He earned those 2 letters the hard way.
Then history repeated itself. Venues dropped him, shows got canceled, and the same quiet isolation that buried Bernie Mac came for him. This time over politics. But DL didn't fold. His radio show blew up instead. The more Hollywood tried to silence him, the louder his audience became. People were done with fake celebrity talk. They wanted truth, and DL gave it to them. He also wasn't alone. Other blacklisted and silenced voices rallied beside him. Together they built spaces no studio could control. That's when DL realized the truth. Hollywood hadn't changed, it just got sneakier. Now they called it brand safety instead of blacklisting. But the goal was the same: silence the ones who speak too loud.
But it's funny because you can say anything, you can say anything about black or Latin, black or brown people. You can say anything about them and people will believe you. Anything. Like the same time they're saying Latins eat dogs, Venezuelans took over Aurora. There is a mentality in this nation where you can say anything about them and in far reaches of the world, and not even in far reaches of the world, they'll believe it. All you got to do is say Barack Obama wasn't born here. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
She's not really black. Okay. Mm-hmm. They eating dogs. Everybody say, and it'll be, and that's how deeply rooted the belief system in this country that we're naturally deviant to me. That's insane to me. Like George Lopez said this, is funny. Every time, if they're so lazy, if they're so lazy, how come every time you arrest them they're at work? You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't never see them. No days off. You never bust them hanging out at the park.
After 16 years of watching the same cycle destroy lives, from Bernie's fall to his own battles, DL finally said enough. He was ready to expose everything: the buried footage, the hidden deals, and the system that broke Bernie Mac and so many others. And this time, the truth they tried to bury was finally coming to light. His story wasn't just about one man. It's about a system built to silence voices that shine too bright. And if this is what they did to Bernie Mac, imagine who they're targeting next. Stay tuned. The next truth they tried to bury might be even darker.